desert was burning. The air shimmered over the dry earth, as if the land itself were on fire. Rancher Cole Walker had been riding since dawn, following the faint trail of a missing calf. The only sounds were the creak of saddle leather and the soft thud of his horse's hooves. He stopped by a small creek that cut through the canyon, a thin ribbon of water fighting to survive in the heat. As he bent down to fill his canteen, a sound reached him, faint, desperate, a whisper or maybe a cry. He turned sharply. There, half hidden behind the rocks, lay a woman. Her dress was torn, dust clinging to her skin, her breathing shallow. Her long black hair spilled across the sand like a shadow. Cole rushed to her side. "Miss, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, dark, fierce, and full of pain. "Snake," she gasped, her voice trembling. "Bit me." Cole's heart pounded. He looked down and saw the swelling, her leg just above the knee, already red and burning. He could see where the fangs had struck. He knew what that meant. There was no time to think, no time to hesitate. "Don't move," he said, cutting the rope from his saddlebag and tying it tight above the wound. She gritted her teeth, clutching at the dirt. "No, don't touch." "Underskirt," Cole froze, his mind racing. The wound was high, too high. But he could see the venom spreading, the skin darkening, the pulse slowing. "Mom," he said quietly, steadying his voice, "if I don't get that poison out, you won't live another hour. I swear on my life, I'll only do what's needed." She stared at him, her chest rising and falling. Her eyes flicked to the cross that hung on his neck, worn and tarnished. After a long pause, she nodded. The air was still. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Cole pulled his hat low, knelt beside her, and did what he had in night after the rescue was long and restless. Cole kept the fire alive through the dark hours, listening to the crackle of the flames and the shallow sound of Nokoma's breathing. Every time she stirred, he was there, checking the bandage, cooling her skin, whispering words she probably couldn't understand. When the sun finally broke through the canyon, she opened her eyes again. For a moment she looked lost. Then she saw him. "You stayed," she murmured. "Didn't seem right to leave," Cole said softly, adding another log to the fire. "You had fever all night." She shifted weakly, the blanket sliding off her shoulders. "You should have left me for the spirits. My people do not owe the white man life." Cole met her gaze, his blue eyes calm and steady. "I didn't do it for a debt," he said. "I did it because a woman was dying and I could help." She turned her head, staring at the canyon wall, red rock glowing under the morning light. "Among my people," she said quietly, "a man who draws death from a woman's body, his spirit becomes bound to hers." Cole frowned. "Bound?" Her lips curved faintly, but there was no humor in her smile. "It means you touched my death and took it into yourself. You saved my life, but now it belongs to you." He let out a slow breath, looking into the flames. "I don't much believe in spirits," he said, "but I believe in doing what's right." For a while neither spoke. The fire popped softly between them. Cole stood, walked to his horse and brought back his canteen. "Drink," he said, offering it to her. She hesitated, then took it, her fingers brushing his hand. The moment lingered longer than either of them meant it to. The ride to safety. By noon the heat was rising. Cole packed his gear, lifted Nokoma gently onto his horse, and mounted behind her. "Easy now," he said, wrapping one arm around her to steady her. She didn't resist, but her voice was quiet. "My people will not forgive this." "They can take it up with me," he said firmly. "You're not dying in this canyon." The ride was slow, the desert endless. Dust rose from the horses' hooves as they moved through the silent land, across dry creek beds, over rocky hills, past clusters of cactus blooming in pale yellow. Every so often Cole glanced down at her, watching the sweat bead on her forehead. "You're strong," he said quietly. "Most wouldn't have lasted through the night." She didn't answer, only whispered something in Apache that he didn't understand. A prayer, maybe, or a curse. When they finally reached the ranch, Cole lifted her down and carried her inside. The small cabin was simple. A bed, a table, a few books, a rifle by the door. He laid her down gently, covering her with a clean blanket. "You're safe here," he said. Nakoma looked around, her eyes darting from the walls to the window. "This is your home?" "It's all I've got," he said with a half smile. "And now it's yours until you can walk again." She stared at him, unsure whether to believe him or fear him. "Why would you risk yourself for me?" she asked. He hesitated, then said softly, "Because I've lost enough already." The Stranger and the Firelight. That night, a storm rolled across the plains, thunder echoing over the hills. Inside the cabin, the fire burned steady. Cole sat across from Nakoma, cleaning his rifle while she watched the flames. At last she spoke. "You have no wife?" He shook his head. "Not anymore." She turned her gaze toward him. "Then you are lonely." He gave a small, sad smile. "Guess that's true." She looked into the fire again. "In my tribe, no one lives alone. The spirit is weak when it has no one to fight for." Her words struck him deeper than he expected. "Maybe that's why I saved you," he said quietly. "Maybe I needed someone to fight for." The silence that followed was thick, not uncomfortable, but heavy with something neither could name. Outside, the rain began to fall, soft against the roof. Nakoma looked down at the bandage on her leg, at the mark that would never truly fade. Then she looked up at him and said, "You are part of me now, Cole Walker. Whether you believe in spirits or not, the desert remembers." Cole met her eyes and whispered, "Then I guess we'll have to face the desert together." Outside, lightning flashed across the plains, a promise, or a warning, because neither of them knew it yet. But Nakoma's people were already on their way. The dawn came soft and golden over the valley, painting the land in pale light. Nakoma opened her eyes slowly, the scent of smoke and pine filling her lungs. She was lying in a warm bed inside a small cabin, his cabin. For a moment she didn't move. The sound of boots on the porch, the creak of floorboards, told her where she was. Then the door opened and Cole Walker stepped in, a tray in his hands. "You're awake," he said quietly, relief hidden in his voice. "You've been out near 2 days. Fever had you bad." Nakoma tried to sit, wincing. "You kept me here?" "Didn't have a choice," he said simply. "You'd have died in the canyon." She stared at him, her dark eyes uncertain. "And now, you keep me prisoner?" Cole set the tray down, water, a bit of cornbread and dried meat. "You're free to go when you can walk," he said. "But your leg ain't ready. Not yet." She looked at the food but didn't touch it. "If my people find me here." He nodded slowly. "I figured they might. But I ain't scared of trouble when it's for the right reason." Outside, the wind rustled the dry grass. For a while they sat in silence, 2 worlds sharing one room. Cole glanced at her leg. The swelling had gone down, but the mark was still there, a dark bruise across her skin. "You did it," she whispered almost to herself. "You drew the death away." He smiled faintly. "I've seen death plenty of times. It don't scare me much anymore." Nakoma studied him for a long moment, her voice trembling as she said, "You should fear it now, Cole Walker. When you saved me, our spirits became one. My people will not see it kindly." He frowned. "What are you saying?" "You touched the wound of life and death," she said softly. "Among my tribe, that binds 2 souls, not by choice, but by fate. To them I am your woman now, to you. You are part of us." Before Cole could reply, a sharp whistle echoed from outside, 3 short bursts. He moved fast, grabbing his rifle. "Riders," he muttered. Through the window he saw them, 6 Apache men on horseback, moving with purpose. Nakoma's heart leapt. "My people. They don't look friendly," Cole said under his breath. The reckoning. Within minutes the men dismounted. The one in front, tall, stern, scarred, stepped forward. Nakoma whispered his name, Taza, her brother. He called out in Apache, his voice cold and furious. Nakoma translated quickly. "He says you took me, dishonored me." Cole's grip tightened on the rifle. "Tell him I saved your life." She did, and Taza's expression shifted, but only slightly. He shouted again, pointing toward Cole. "He says saving me does not make you my husband," Nakoma said softly. But touching me does. Cole's jaw clenched. Then I reckon I don't have an argument that'll make sense to him. Before she could speak again, Taza raised his spear and barked another command. 2 men stepped forward, but Nakoma suddenly stood, unsteady yet fierce. "No," she cried, voice trembling but loud. "He is my bond by spirit. He saved me when the snake's venom burned my blood. The spirits chose him, not me." Taza froze. The others murmured among themselves. The air seemed to tremble with tension. Finally, the older man at Taza's side spoke, slow, wise, heavy with authority. Nakoma translated through tears. "He says the spirits saw truth. If the white man's heart is clean, he will be accepted as one of us." Taza looked from her to Cole, then nodded once. "Then prove it," Nakoma said softly. "Face him, not in anger, in trust." Cole low.